credentials stand out in the African continent. We had the most transparent, the best election acclaimed by all the observers, whether EU, whether Africa Union, whether USAID, and all the actors that were present in that election. What is going on in Kenya is the usual challenges of democracy, where people want to challenge the rule of law. My position as president is that the property, the lives, the businesses of everybody, Kenyans and foreigners, will be protected by the government of Kenya. All those involved in criminal activity, whoever they are, irrespective of who they are, what their status is, will be brought to book. It is unthinkable for any government to participate in the destruction of property of citizens. I want to tell you, as I tell Kenyans and members of the global community, that the government of Kenya will make sure that the property and lives of all Kenyans, including our visitors, will be protected, and those involved in criminal activity, including the invasions, will be brought to book. I want to tell you that we have no exceptions on respect for the rule of law, and we also don't have exceptions on protection of property or lives. Everybody must respect the rule of law, and everybody is entitled to the protection of their property and of their assets and of their lives by the government of Kenya. The diaspora is going to be part and parcel of the business that I have in governing Kenya. And that they will have a very special place, because the diaspora for a very long time did not get the kind of fair treatment that a government is supposed to give to all its citizens. I am aware that in many of the engagements that I had with members of our community, our Kenyan community across the globe, that they wanted government to do more, and government to be more responsive, and government to offer better service. And that is the reason that informed my establishing the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, so that there is a dedicated permanent secretary to respond, to deal, to work with the diaspora, and so that we can leverage the huge potential that exists in our diaspora in not just growing our economy, but also profiling our country positively. I want to commend all of you, Kenyans in the diaspora, for being the true ambassadors of our country. You have, as was ably said by Tom Omolo, you have truly been the ambassadors of Kenya. And Kenya is known for what it is, a country rich in culture, but also very warm people. I am very proud to be a Kenyan, because I listened to many people, including yesterday. I was in a meeting where Germans were speaking very well about Kenyans and Kenyans in Germany. Their hard work, their creativity, innovation is just outstanding. And I want to encourage each and every one of us to fly our flag high wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever job you're doing. Just know that the rest of us in Kenya are behind you, and we all share in one country, and we must look after it and do the best for it. We would want to review, as the PS has said, the diaspora policy. And we are expecting you guys in the diaspora to help us with ideas, to contribute your thoughts on how best you think as a country we can take advantage of the opportunities that exist in Kenya and also take advantage of the opportunities that are available globally. We must act local, but think global. I think there is opportunities out there that we must not miss out. Let me tell you one thing that I am very sure about, that we have the best human capital anywhere in the world. That I am very sure about. Kenyans can work anywhere. They can do anything. And they are simply the best. So, and we must, that's in fact the biggest asset that we have, the Kenyan people. We may not have gold, we may not have silver and oil, but we have the Kenyan human capital. It is better than gold, believe you me, from where I stand. And therefore, we must leverage, and it is my intention that we will leverage on our human capital to serve ourselves, to serve the world, and to make sure that Kenya shines. As a bastion of democracy, we enacted one of the most progressive constitutions in the region that provides for devolved government structure. The decentralized governance structure of 47 county governments enjoys a large measure of autonomy in public expenditure management and has also enhanced public participation and inclusion in governance. Our democratic space also accommodates diverse shades of opinion, namely from religious and faith-based organizations and the ever-vibrant civil society groups. Similarly, Germany has robust, long-standing, and time-tested democratic credentials, and it is therefore important for our two countries to benchmark and learn best practice in terms of building strong institutions and creating synergies and linkages for collaboration among our institutions. I am glad to note that recently 3 parliamentary committees from Germany visited Kenya in October 2022, November 2022, and February this year. Such engagements should be encouraged for experience sharing. We should perhaps move beyond institutions to vouch for more people-to-people contacts and exchanges. State-to-state relations depend on amity between the people. It is my hope that Kenyans and Germans will continue to deepen mutual understanding and friendship so as to provide a better social foundation and public opinion atmosphere for the long-term development of our bilateral relations. Honorable members, Kenya is an anchor for stability, security, and democracy, not just in our region or on this continent, but across the globe.
And I'd just like to finish by touching on an issue that has been the source of some international controversy, the LGBT issue, which in East Africa, many East African countries, has been controversial. Just recently, the neighboring country of Uganda introduced very draconian legislation, which caused quite an outcry internationally. Do you have a feeling that Uganda has gone too far with its legislation?
I am Kenyan, so I'm sure Ugandans can speak for themselves. I can only tell you about Kenya and what Kenya as a country and me as a leader, we've taken the position that the provisions of the Constitution as it is today, the provisions of the law as it is today, we allow other countries to do what they want to do. We cannot dictate to Germans or Americans or French or Ugandans on what they want to do. That's theirs to choose. For us as a country, we have taken a position, and that position is informed by our culture, our tradition, our constitution, and our laws.
But those laws do date back to the colonial era in some cases. And, critics outside would say, well, LGBT rights are an intrinsic part of human rights, which are internationally recognized. Do you recognize that? Do you see that the rights of LGBT people are intrinsically a question of human rights, which are universal? Or do you feel that it is simply something that it is for each country to decide?
The Kenyan Constitution is a 2010 Constitution. In fact, it was celebrated as the most progressive constitution, providing especially the chapter on human rights and the rights of people and the extent of the protection of rights of people that is enshrined in the Constitution. And in that context, in the formulation of that Constitution, the people of Kenya spoke expressly as to what kind of rights and to what extent everybody can enjoy their rights without infringing on the rights of others. In Kenya, the only understanding of relationships around marriage is around men marrying women. That's the context of a relationship that exists in Kenya and exists in our constitution and is provided for in our constitution. And it can happen elsewhere. We have no issue with people celebrating their issues in America and in other countries. That is their choosing.
Just very briefly, I mean, it was really just a blink of an eye also in Europe, in the United States, that marriage was only between a man and a woman as well. It's a very short time. Do you think that will never come in Kenya, or you think maybe it will just come, but in a longer period of time?
I cannot tell you. I cannot stretch my imagination that far. Maybe we can leave it here for now and see what happens in the future.